Good evening. You're flying with Pod Squadron podcast. All wings report in. This is Andy, Pod Job, standing by.
This is Tracy, hot nerd girl, standing by. Or
Just like
Pod Tracer.
we did it.
Standing by.
This is Lexi Podme, standing by.
All ships to attack formation. Mission objectives to talk about Star Wars in movies, streaming, animation, books, themed experiences, and your art inspiration from the galaxy far, far away. Tonight's flight plan includes a little bit of Star Wars news, but also mainly the main meat is we're still catching up on Star Wars Skeleton Crew EP02. So for all of you out there, all comm channels are open. Follow us on Blue Sky, Facebook, Instagram, and find us on Twitch and YouTube. Like and subscribe and hit the bell icon so you know when we have new content. But first, I'll be your squad leader for today. I'm Andy Lowe, aka the Chinese Pirate. I'm a director, storyteller, puppeteer, performer, and fight choreographer. On my wing is Tracy Who? Wait, what is it? Tracy Who?
Tracy Who? Like C pointed out, I'm related to the doctor, apparently. My name is Tracy, also known as Hot Nerd Girl, a writer, sort of blogger at this point, occasional cosplayer, farmer, and generally low energy person these days. And other wing.
And the other wing is Lexi.
Lexi, I'm the feral geek online. Occasionally I post. I'm an event coordinator, and my favorite hobby is designing cosplays that I cannot afford to make.
And of course, we are just one squad in this fleet. We are part of the Geekish Network. That's right here on YouTube and on Facebook. So check out all the other shows that are on the network. As foils to attack position, we're going in. Hi, everyone. So we are reunited with Tracy this week. How you doing, Tracy?
With me and my one brain cell, apparently. I keep messing up. It's been so long. Oh, hey guys. How you doing?
Yeah, you know.
I put on makeup for you. I haven't worn makeup in a really long time.
I put on eyeliner. Y'all should feel lucky.
I put on a t-shirt. Lexi has bangs now.
I'm just feeling Lexi's new bangs. I can't stop looking at them, and I'm like, this bangs.
Well, okay, so like we said, we're gonna get into episode 2 of Skeleton Crew, and but first, just a little bit of a interesting little tidbit. It has been reported that Sigourney Weaver has been offered a role somewhere in the Star Wars universe. She says she's playing a wonderful character in a position of authority, but she didn't offer much more details. But she indicated her character might help kick off the plot for the film for the Mandalorian and Grogu film. I don't know if that's the official title or not, but yeah, kind of interesting to have Sigourney in the universe now.
I saw that she basically was like, to paraphrase, I wanted to be in Star Wars because it's really awesome. And I love that she's now in another big sci-fi. And also, I just couldn't be happier for, like, y'all, she was my bioawakening. And it wasn't in Aliens, it was in Ghostbusters.
Oh, interesting.
I mean, she opened the door in that red dress and was like, are you the
wind machine?
Right.
Yeah, are you the Keymaster? And I was like, I don't know what just happened.
Well, I mean, also, you know, like for many of us, the first introduction to femdom, right? I mean,
yes. Oh my goodness. And something that I recently noticed, like it just popped into my head, ADHD like, was that Rick Moranis's character, the Keymaster, he was always getting locked out of his own apartment. Right. Anyway, I digress. But yeah, Sigourney Weaver, I hope she, and like, of course, and like in Mandalorian and Grogu, like that, like, yes.
I mean, she looks like she belongs in the Star Wars universe.
I mean, she is like, you know, kind of first lady of action sci-fi, right? I mean, you know, from Aliens, but of course to like Galaxy Quest. I mean,
Avatar.
Paul. She was even in Paul.
So very excited. Oh wait, you know what? And she's also technically already in the Marvel universe, depending on how much you want to embrace. that she was the villain in the Defenders series when they had the Marvel's Netflix shows.
I just watched that for the first time. Yeah.
Daredevil's awesome. Actually, they're all awesome. It's really just Iron Fist.
I never watched Iron Fist because people like you told me that it was no bueno. But I just went on like a total like Marvel kick, not to go off Star Wars, but I started with like the Netflix Marvel series, and I had never finished Jessica Jones. I had never finished Luke Cage, and I had never seen any of Iron Fist. And I don't even think I saw the last episode of last season of Daredevil. And so I went through all of those in timeline order.
Nice.
And then I was like, well, I'm not done yet. And so I was like, well, I need to watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. because it was on TV and I got rid of cable. So I never finished Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So then I went all through Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And then I went back because Disney Plus has the timeline of all the movies. You can do them in timeline order. And I started at the very first one and watched all the way up through Deadpool and Wolverine, which is weird that one's on there because none of the other Deadpools are. But anyway, digress. And it was the super fun like few weeks of like while I was working, having it on in the background. And I was like, I'm so glad I finally watched these. And I actually really enjoyed Iron Fist, but mostly for his girlfriend, and her fight scenes were my favorite. Yeah, she by far had the best fight scenes.
And of course, she's also in Star Wars. She plays one of the pilots in Force Awakens.
Mm-hmm.
But
she's rocking it. She's in a bunch of stuff right now. She's amazing.
Yeah. But with that, shall we move on into the meat of the evening?
Skeleton, but I don't eat meat.
Oh, okay.
Yes, we shall. Well, I do eat some meat.
All right.
Sorry, guys. Did you see it?
Great. So, Pod Squadron, Pod Squadron, Skeleton Crew, episode 2. So, let's see here. This is where are we starting? Okay. The episode is called Way Out Past the Barrier. We'll probably, go through some of the beats, but let's just start with first impressions of the episode.
I loved that we got to see more of Nick Frost's character, and the fact that they're going hard with the the Peter Pan Treasure Island references and things like that. All of like the adventure pirate stories. I'm calling him SM33, which is Smee, and of course he's not
my comment.
Right. Well, I mean, well, then talk about his favorite line. Talk about his favorite line. Because I know you've heard it even if you haven't seen the last 2 episodes yet.
Oh, are you talking about the No, I Don't Know About At-Atten, that one?
Yeah. Well, last time when we were when I was on with the guys, and it had been so long since we watched it, they're like, all right, so what about this show? And I was like, can't say as I remember No At-Atten. I really held on.
I actually have a Smee cosplay, and it's like my nickname is Toodles, so I was really excited to see that SM33 was Smee, and I was like, oh.
I liked that we got to see how different. We finally get to see our first planet besides At-Atten, and it is nothing like At-Atten. So we're already seeing how much of insulated, a little microcosm, and how weirdly different from the galaxy it is. Because if you didn't see that, you'd think maybe we're at a point in the Republic where there's multiple places like this. Nope.
The other kind of cool thing about this is the first time we're seeing a live act. This is actually something I believe was originally introduced in the comics. The location of Borgo Prime, or is like basically the the island Tortuga or Port Tortuga of the Star Wars universe, where all the pirates hub is. So getting to kind of see this realized, very cool design with all just kind of the asteroid belt. And like lots of kind of debris, and this idea also just some really just fun, like ridiculous things that recall, it's like we have docking cables that are kind of like docking ropes, like ties and stuff, and all this
and like nets hanging from it, and so wow.
And I'm sure that whatever the Republic's version of OSHA is, none of it's compliant. Like, it's definitely super sketch.
Yeah, there's definitely no OSHA in Star Wars. I mean, just look at if the Empire is the most like regulated restrictive like force, and yet there's still no handrails, right?
And then of course we have, like the big Jude Law character reveal. So
Yes, at the very end,
The man of many names.
man of many names. We'll find out later. They don't quite let on that he is the same Captain Silva that we see in the first few minutes of episode 1, but it's implied. I think we can. I don't know. I mean, my suspicions were dead on. I'm like, okay, that's totally him. That was his character development moment.
yeah, the last like when they showed him to us in episode 1, you didn't see his face, but there was a lot of take him to the brig kind of stuff going on.
Right.
And then this is the first character they meet in the brig, and it's like so.
Also, I like his helmet. It's a good helmet.
And it kind of reminded me of the design of and I'm blanking right now, but the villain in the like the High Republic arc with the shipping disaster, because they were describing his helm, and like I saw some character art and it kind of reminded me of his. So yeah, creepy and no, those, but lots of like fun cliffhanger with that after they introduce him.
Now they also kind of drop a little bit of just lore, right? So like this is kind of where we learn that the kids at least know what hyperdrive is, but they've never experienced it before. This is their first time away from their planet.
Seeing stars.
Seeing stars and seeing aliens, right? They get onto Borgo Prime and they're like looking at all the aliens, and
because they have like 3 aliens on their planet.
Right. And they also, this is like the first time they introduce a very important theme that will recur through the series, of that there are good people and bad people in good places and bad places, right? As they're kind of navigating this, and there are people that are trying to take advantage of them. And then they run into some, like, probably like some, it's implied they're like, brothel wenches or something like that. But they're like, kids, you shouldn't be here. What are you doing here?
Yeah, especially when they see the credits. And I think that was one of the things that when he pulls out, his dataries, I think they called them, and it's his lunch money.
Right.
It's like it's like
fortune.
Yeah, it's like he thinks it's like a $5 bill. You know what I mean? To him, it's a $5 for lunch, and everybody's like, "What?" Yeah.
Well, this currency in this universe is thousands of years old at this point,
right?
Because it's not High Republic; it's Old Republic. Yeah, so it's a little bit of a mind bender. But going back to what you were saying about like their first time seeing bad guys. This is what's going to allow them to see, because they're so isolated and insulated in their community. That's where they're going to see that they actually have bad guys like in their community, and it's going to come full circle. Because I don't know how you look at the safety droids and not think that that's really creepy.
Oh yeah,
and the great works and all that, like.
Yeah, that was the first sign where it's like something's a little off here, a little off.
Even just like the introduction of SM-33, and I love that he's got like a peg leg, but he's just like a damaged droid. He's missing an eye, but there's a little mouse that lives in the eye. Yeah. But that initial thing where he's like, we have trespassers, and Fern immediately just being, kind of the rough and tumble ragtag one of the group, just says, no, I killed your captain. It's like, oh, so you're my captain then? Yeah. And and this is also like, where you get that real kind of like Goonies kid energy, where it's like Wim is like, oh, I wanted to be the captain.
Yeah. It was the kind of the echo, the take back, like claimsies. Well, we're call these on the inside.
Yeah, all that is like super delightful. Let's see here. What else do we learn? We learn a little bit more about the Onyx Cinder, as he's showing us showing Fern how he flies the thing. they also established the never push this button, this big shiny button,
That's
It's definitely going to get pushed.
which is like, okay,
that's Ibsen's got on the mantelpiece for
Yes.
sure.
check,
And then
check
right.
off big shiny green button.
Oh my goodness, yeah. So it's like then you get I think one of the other things that they try to ask him to go back to at Atten, and I think this is like we get a really key point where he searches his star maps and he doesn't know where it is.
Yeah. Well,
Doesn't know where it is.
and to your point, yes, we hear that phrase again. The can't say I don't know at Atten.
It says I remember no at Atten. Yeah.
Which of course becomes a thing the more times he responds in that exact term. But that mystery also kind of deepens as actually I think it's with the brothel ladies who are like, okay, kids, where are you from? And they're like, we're from our planet at Atten. Can you help us find it? And they say,
No, really.
No, really.
oh, so it deepens that of okay, there's a mystery around their planet
Treasure
and
Island. It's Treasure Island.
which is interesting to me as kind of a flip, right? Like I was already kind of calling that this was going to be a bit of a treasure island in the Star Wars universe, but the flip of that of being home is the treasure, right? Which immediately I was clocking that, oh, okay, you're doing like, home was the treasure all along. Which I was like, you know what, I'm down with that. I love that. I like the flip on that.
Well, Smee, SM33, is kind of a Long John Silver character. Have you ever read Treasure Island?
They kind of split it up a little bit, right? I mean, because obviously there's the direct thing of, we don't know Jod. Well, we haven't really heard Jod's name yet, but we've met Captain Silvo / Silver.
Long Jod Silvo.
And then, but all the, it's a droid.
Yeah, the two of them are kind of an amalgamation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he's got the peg leg, he's got the kind of crotchety.
And I think they probably needed to do that because you always got to have a droid. You always got to have a sassy droid. And so they had to have they had to have Jude Law. Jod, that's going to mess me up. See.
Who you can't really trust, right? Just like Long John Silver and Treasure Island. Yeah.
And then they had to split it up because they're like, well, we need a droid, so we'll have also the more piratey thing with that.
Also, just I think another kind of cool little setup, right, is that in the first episode we get to watch Fern cleverly manipulate her droid into covering for her that she was home doing her homework when she was out racing, right? Mm-hmm. So that's already established as she outsmarts SM33 and quickly like figures out the code that he lives by, right? Mm-hmm. And also establishing that bit of pirate code lore of, okay, so you can be the captain if you challenge them to a battle to the death, and
that becomes
well, that's later.
And what they did, but they established that, so then when they bring it up later, not like it's not exposition.
Yeah, because he says like, should we dispose of Wim for being a mutinous? And he's like, no, don't, that's fine.
And we get introduced to one of our antagonists, who's Brutus, who used to be Silvo's second in command, and now we see him large and in charge.
Now this is fun that this is like finally getting to see another Shistavanen. I might be saying that wrong, but this is an alien species that dates back to the original Tatooine Cantina scene.
Yeah.
Where they were just like, look, we need as many weird aliens as you can. What random costumes do you have?
What animals can we do these things on?
Not a random like Wolfman mask and put it on a dude in a flight suit. And then they're like, hey, George Lucas, what is that guy? He's a
and they put Terminator glowing eyes on him.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, so Brutus is this Wolfman creature that is now, part of the canon of aliens of Star Wars.
Well, we can't ignore when Fern is manipulating Smee and says that she killed the previous captain, how Neil did that gasp. He was like, you did?
Yeah. Oh my
All,
goodness.
give me all the Neil moments.
Neil is my future boyfriend, BFF. I love him.
He's like this crew's Star Wars Samwise.
But when he picks up the Jude Law's taser and is like, oh,
Which, speaking of Jude Law, after the kids get caught by the pirates, they end up getting taken to the brig, right? Am I missing anything in between all of that?
I think maybe just one tiny thing that I'd like to call out is that, you know, they get into this fight and they're faced off with the pirates, and of course Fern, you know, grabs the blaster, shoots it in the air, but then kind of starts to realize, oh shit, like we're actually gonna have to fight. This is not gonna work. But we also get to see SM-33, you know, take a bunch of guys out too, which is fun. And that also establishes, okay, so they got some muscle on them too, and he's willing to fight for them. But yes, regardless, they get caught and they are definitely in over their heads.
Yeah, not like the stories, which gets repeated often.
I don't know if it was before or after they went to jail, but there was a little red furry critter in a cage that looked like a ball from Captain EO.
Yes. Yeah, that was something I spotted in the trailer, and I freaked out because, you know, as you all know, I'm a big Disney nerd, so like the fact that they reference this alien from Captain EO of all things, and it's like, it's canon. Captain EO is canon. And that's
in both Star Wars and Star Trek, because they also introduced us to the Borg.
Well, that's true. But and also, you know, kind of Neil kind of looks like Hooter, so maybe like Hooter is a grown up. Hooter is the blue elephant character.
No, it's a different race.
I mean, are we sure? I mean,
yes, I saw an interview. It's a totally different race.
Give it a name. I'm gonna have to. I'm gonna look.
Because I mean, if that's the case, then that means there are 3 different blue elephant type of aliens.
The proboscis is different. The limbs are different, and they said it's a whole.
I mean, it could just be juvenile, you know, grows into it.
But this is where I'm bummed that Jason isn't here, because we also, the little critter that they first give the Old Republic coin to, and it freaks out. That's a teak. That's from Ewok Adventures.
Oh, that's right.
Edior.
Yeah.
Yes. I about screamed when I saw a teak, and the teak is voiced by Sam Witwer. I had to look it up.
Oh, really?
So, okay. So they're apparently called Mickeans with a double Y, and I can't help but think that that's just a Mickey Mouse reference. Like
every single thing in this show is an Easter egg, I swear. Because the when they get on the ship, there's like the skeleton with the knife through it, like One-Eyed Willie and Goonies. There's so many Goonies and like Steven Spielberg movie references in this.
Well, heck, in episode 1, the bus driver is like a Star Tours pilot droid.
Yep.
Yeah. All the little Easter eggs, but
they even did the ding, the little chime when you get off of Star Tours. They did the same little chime.
Yeah, and they fit them in ways that don't just seem like mindless fan service. So I appreciated that.
Yeah, they don't call that much attention to themselves. They're just organic to the world, and if you happen to catch it, you catch it.
The graffiti behind her says "turd eater" in Arabic. When in the principal's office.
So yeah,
happy.
That I think that brings us to the end of this episode, right? I mean, basically they get into jail.
Still haven't talked about them meeting Jod.
Right. He just come. Well, okay, why don't you? Okay, so
because like they're in the brig, and they're freaking out, of course, because like maybe the worst they've ever been in is detention, you know. And Neil's certainly never been in detention, you know. He's too good a boy. Okay. Neil is not a detention kid, but the rest of them probably been in detention, and that's probably the worst, or grounded, and that's probably the worst that they could ever imagine. And now, you know, they're legitimately in a prison, and you have Jude Law, who comes forward with his Jedi bedraggled looking Jedi cloak, right?
His vibe.
Yeah, his whole thing, and starts kind of talking. He finds out I think he remind me, guys, if you can remember this detail. Does he show himself only after he hears them talking about getting back to the ship?
Yes.
Because I think that's how he
getting back to the ship, and also he's heard them talk about that.
Yeah. So if they hadn't said any of that, I don't think he would have stepped forward at all. And you see throughout the show that he's just such an opportunist, and you get that first flavor of it here. But he starts kind of talking Jedi sounding stuff, and then actually uses the Force to get the keys.
Well, we don't. Do we see that?
Yeah, we do.
Yeah. That's the cliffhanger.
That's the cliffhanger. Okay, I couldn't remember if that's the end of the episode or if it's the beginning of the next one.
Yeah, so it's I remember they left it at a cliffhanger, and they had him, doing kind of Jedi talk, which in hindsight,
ambiguous.
Ambiguous.
Like, are you using the Force? The Force is in all of us, right?
Yeah,
like
the Force is in all of us, or because are you and he. Says something very Jedi-ish about the key being over there, but the distance between the key and it is something about your mind, and sounds a lot like one of those guys who did ayahuasca once and thinks he knows how to solve everybody's problems. I don't know. So yeah, he says something like that, and that kind of set off my BS detector. But he uses the Force, and you're like, okay, well, obviously Force sensitive, but I don't know if you're a Jedi. But it's enough for the kids who've only ever really heard of the Jedi, and clearly aren't aware that not all Force users are Jedi or Sith, that they automatically clock him as like, wow, he's a Force user, he must be, and he's helping us, therefore he must be a good guy.
Right.
Yeah, but they know of Jedis as kind of like tales, like Grimm's fairy tales or the Bible or something. Like it's like these kind of far off mythical things.
Yeah, like comic book superheroes, yeah. So that's fun, and they leave you on that cliffhanger where, to the kids, he's a hero and a Jedi because you've just confirmed
to win.
Well, yeah,
or win.
Yeah. Well, at least he's someone who will help them, and he can use the Force. But and I like that it's the girls who are the most skeptical, even in a galaxy far away. Like the girls are the ones who get stranger danger off of this guy.
Well, also, I mean, it's established the two girls might be a little bit older and a little bit more worldly.
Yeah.
Very green.
No, they're in the same class as him, aren't they?
Are they? Oh, I thought they were a little older.
They're not. Even if they are, they're not that much older. Cause
like a year or something like that.
Yeah, like maybe one class year above them or something like that. But
maybe not. I mean, yeah.
Honestly, I'm really going to chalk it up to the fact that, like, even in a galaxy far, far away, the women are a little bit more on alert because that's how it goes.
Also, growth spurts.
That's true.
Mature faster than guys, whatever. So
indeed.
But yeah. So I like that was a really fun cliffhanger to leave it on, I thought.
So when these were released, both episode 1 and 2 were released together. So we have now basically hit the point that this was like the first impression of the series. So for you guys, how had the series drawn you in by this point?
Oh, absolutely. I got drawn in personally when I was already interested when they had the whole very manicured suburbia, because there was enough, like you said, things that were very markedly Star Wars, like the tech, like the school bus being driven by the Star Tours droid, all that kind of thing. I was like, okay, this is the world, but this is a corner of the world that is so vastly different. And I'm really interested to see how they're going to justify it.
Yeah.
And then when the kids take off in the ship, I was like, now we're cooking with gas.
I don't think I think it really registered to me that they were completely like unconnected to the larger galaxy until this episode. Like I was a little just confused by the
when they did
details.
I started thinking, whoa, are they really this isolated when they went through the barrier and they were like, whoa, stars.
Yeah.
And I was like, and I was like Tracy last time I was saying, it was kind of cute that the kids, although they are from the Star Wars universe, because they're from that sheltered planet and they wouldn't have really, like most people didn't get to meet or see a Jedi and certainly not these kids, that we in fact know more about their own world, their own galaxy than they do.
Right.
And so that's kind of that has a sort of fun effect to it. But I think that's when they really got me when, of course, like Wim activates the ship because they're like, don't touch that. And of course he touches it, which is classic kids stuff and also really good catalyst for the plot.
And their first exposure to stars is they're almost immediately shot through them at light speed. Like you talk about freaking out. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's they had me from episode 1.
Yeah, I will admit, like I enjoyed episode 1, but I didn't feel drawn in until this episode. Because once we started to get some of the piratey stuff and kind of the world building kind of beyond and kind of seeing some of the fish out of water stuff, that was when I was like, okay, this is gonna be fun.
Yeah, I think it was smart of them to release it as a pair as well.
How about you, Tracy?
I watched the first 3 episodes and then sort of dropped off but it wasn't so much because I wasn't interested in the show. I think it was just that I have been on another kick of something else. So I actually still haven't finished this series yet.
Which means you get to experience it for the first time with us, which is exciting.
Yay! That's what I was going for, guys.
Yeah.
But I did rewatch the first 3 episodes and then watch number 4 in preparation for this episode. And I think it allowed me to see some of the little details that I maybe would have missed before, and it's fresh in my head. And you didn't mention the Pirates of the Caribbean whistle when they closed the gate either on the jail.
What?
They did a Pirate of the Caribbean whistle when they closed the jail door. You can hear it.
Oh, I'm gonna go back.
That's why that sounded familiar. Good catch. That's why I was like, why is that giving my brain a tickle?
So I was up like as a child, there was all these references to films and stuff that I don't know that unless your parents like really expose you to stuff, I don't know that kids today would understand the references, even though this show is kind of geared more towards kids. So.
I mean, geared towards kids, but definitely geared towards nostalgia for my generation.
And that's one of the things I liked about it was that it like a lot of your generation and my generation have kids now.
Yeah.
So it's a really fun opportunity for the kids to see a show that has main characters that are kids. Meanwhile, us as adults get to watch this and see all of the Easter eggs and references from like beloved properties that we knew growing up.
Yeah.
So with that, I think we will wrap this up. Thanks for joining us with this episode this week. Come back next week. We're going to be talking about episode 3 and continue on as we recap Skeleton Crew. So thank you for joining us here on the Geekish Network. Follow Geekish Network on YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook, and subscribe to the channel. We will be releasing new pods every Monday, weekly, and so check the schedules for all the other great shows on throughout the week. Thanks on the flight deck to Rodney, and we are the Pod Squadron. Please check out all of our content on podsquadron.com. Like and subscribe. Follow us on Blue Sky, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. For podcast subscriptions, you can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or your favorite podcast app. I'm the Chinese Pirate at ChinesePirate_ at all platforms.
Hold on, I'm trying to get to there. I can't scroll with this. I'm going to say my name. I'm Tracy, aka Hot Nerd Girl. If you Google the Hot Nerd Girl, you'll find me.
And you guys can find me on Facebook and Instagram as the Feral Geek. I've been posting a little bit. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's
Hey, I just got to the right spot.
Yay! And with that, all winds return to base. Course laid in and prepared to make the jump to light speed on my mark. And remember, the truths we cling to depend on our own point of view. Only the Sith deal in absolutes. Good night.